Today I'm at St. Pancras Old Church. It's one of the oldest places of worship in London. And it's located near the St. Pancras rail station and King's Cross. It has several very unique things about it I'd like to show today. And if you're wondering why they call it St. Pancras Old Church, there is a St. Pancras New Church about 1,000 yards away, situated on Euston Road. This one's on St. Pancras Road, going up towards the train station. But I like the naming scheme, very direct and to the point. You'll notice the church grounds are fairly large to the left and the right. It was actually larger than this at one time. In the back, they've actually lost a little bit of property, and I'll point that out when I get back there.
Good morning. Good morning.
It gets its name from St. Pancras, the martyr, who was a Roman soldier who converted to Christianity and was killed. The claim on this building is that it was built around 325 AD, which would put it as being older than even All Hallows by the Tower, which is 675 AD. It's been rebuilt several times over the years. And I think the most recent was probably during Victorian times, which gives it the appearance that it has right now. But during that construction, they noticed when they pulled down some of the plaster, it had some Norman edifice and pillar construction in the backdrop. So at some point, this was probably a Norman church. So it is very old, no matter what the date is actually, but it's hard to say. I believe there was also some construction around 1948 to repair some of the bomb damage in World War II. From what I understand, this didn't alter the appearance, it was merely a repair. There are quite a few notable names of folks buried here, one of which is William Franklin. He was the illegitimate son of Benjamin Franklin and was the last colonial governor of New Jersey. After the 1776 revolution, him and his father didn't quite get along after that, with Benjamin Franklin being a staunch supporter of the American independence and one of the founding fathers of the United States. Another familiar name you might recognize is Johann Christian Bach. Now, he was the 11th son of Johann Sebastian Bach. He is also buried here. Also, Carl Frederick Abel was buried here as well. Now, if you notice that wall to the right, that is the demarcation point where the rail line is now. It used to be part of the churchyard, and so the church grounds actually went out a great deal further, and there were a lot of people buried in that one area back there. Now, when the rail came through, a guy named Thomas Hardy was given the task of exhuming those graves and moving them. And he didn't put them all under this tree, but those tombstones were all lined up here at that point, and they're actually starting to grow into the tree at this point. But the tree, which is a big, large ash tree, I believe, is now known as the Hardy tree for Thomas Hardy. So this would have been a young Thomas Hardy that performed this. If that name sounds familiar to you, he was an English novelist and poet, and had quite a few interesting sayings that you might have heard of. One of which that comes to mind is, and yet to every bad there is always a worse. So I believe he also said, fear is the mother of insight. Or no, it was, fear is the mother of foresight. Yeah, that's what it was. At least I believe so. Now, this is probably the most interesting of the tombstones that are here in the churchyard. This one was designed by architect Sir John Soan. And if you haven't been to his museum, which is in London, you should go to that. That's really a great museum. But he designed this for his wife, who had passed away, and himself later on. And if you look at it, it may look vaguely familiar, especially with the shape at the top of it. A guy named Giles Gilbert Scott later on took this as inspiration for those red telephone boxes that you see all over London. And once you realize that, you can see it in the top portion of the monument here. Sir John Soan, he was an architect, and he designed the Bank of England and various other buildings in London. And this is a really neat monument. It was vandalized at some point and restored back to how you see it now. And they've got this protective fence around it now, and I think it's slightly moved from where it was previously. There were also a lot of foreign dignitaries buried here as well as some French folks which were escaping the revolution in France that had come here. This is the Burdett Coit Sundial Memorial, and it's a memorial to the graves that were disturbed and lost, and the ones that are now unmarked as a result of the rail coming through the back portion of the churchyard. There were quite a few people that I don't guess they knew who they were when they moved them, or as you saw by the tree earlier, all the tombstones are there now instead of where the folks are actually buried. So this is a memorial to those folks. And if you get a chance, you should come out and see St. Pancras Old Church over by King's Cross Station and St. Pancras International Rail Station. Well worth seeing.